I also wanted to make sure Maria was learning the improve skill. So improve is another acronym, and actually it's this entire collection of skills. And improve stands for imagery, meaning, prayer, relaxation, one thing at a time, vacation, and encouragement. You'll probably notice that she was already doing most of these things. So with imagery, she's already doing the safe place with the beach scene. She's already doing the container. Remember the well in the middle of the field. Meaning, so we're all philosophers. We're all theologians. And the reality is pain without purpose becomes suffering. But as long as we can find some kind of purpose for what we're going through, pain becomes a lot more bearable. So that's the idea behind the meaning skill. So with Maria, the sense of purpose, it was actually pretty easy for her to come up with a sense of purpose. It's not always that easy, but for her it was. So she said, God has a purpose for this. And once I am through the asylum process, I can request a visa to bring my daughter. So she was basically able to figure out a meaning, a purpose for why she was going through all of this. And that made it a little easier to deal with. Prayer. So Maria quickly found a prayer group of other residents. So they would meet daily for a brief prayer meeting. So prayer was something that she was doing on her own as well as in a group. So in DBT, prayer can actually refer to any spiritual or religious coping strategy. It can also refer to any kind of structured meditation practice. Prayer can be used very loosely and generally to encompass all of those different categories. In Maria's case, it was literally prayer that was really helpful for her. Relaxation is very self-explanatory, but that refers to any kind of activity that will just automatically and spontaneously activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So in other words, it'll just bring immediate sense of relaxation. And for Maria, that was taking a long, hot shower. One thing at a time, a perfect skill for her, because Maria realized it is not possible to get through the entire asylum process in a single day. I can only do one step at a time. So when Maria thought of the entire process and all of the hoops she would have to jump through, it was overwhelming for her. But then when she realized it's not possible for anyone to do all of this all at once, I can only do one step at a time. That helped give her a sense of relief and also a sense of focus. For vacation, Maria was already doing this. She was going to the gym to play soccer and volleyball. So that was like a mini break, a mini escape for Maria whenever she needed it. And then the encouragement skill is all about helping clients learn to become their own cheerleaders. Because we don't always have all of the external cheerleaders that we need or want or crave. So especially in Maria's case, remember, she was receiving some verbal harassment from some of her roommates, so she wasn't getting encouragement from them. She couldn't talk to me 24/7. So I helped Maria learn how to become her own self-encourager. So Maria learned to tell herself the following self-talk. I have survived so many challenges in life. With the help of God, I know I can get through this asylum process. So that's the IMPROVE acronym. And there's a couple more distress tolerance skills that I wanted to make sure Maria learned. One was the rain dance, for sure, because I knew this would be really helpful, especially for her panic attack symptoms. So not surprisingly, the rain dance is yet another acronym. And the basic idea is when we have intense emotions, if we try to fight those emotions or squelch those emotions or judge or criticize those emotions, in other words, if we try to fight with the emotions, we only make them more intense. So instead of doing that, instead of having some kind of adversarial relationship with our emotions and now they're the enemy, simply dance with them. And RAIN stands for recognize, allow, inquire, and nurture. So recognize refers to recognize the emotion, but specifically, and probably even more importantly, recognize the physical manifestations of the emotion. So where in your body do you physically feel that emotion? So we decided to apply this to panic for Maria. And it was easy for her to realize that she knew she was about to have a panic attack when she noticed, especially the heart palpitations and shortness of breath. And then the A stands for allow. Instead of judging or fearing those physical signs, which Maria was doing previously, she learned to simply allow them. In other words, in her case, she learned to imagine these symptoms are sort of like waves that come and go and they just rise and fall. And then inquire refers to assuming a posture of humility and of curiosity instead of judgment and condemnation. So she learned to ask herself some basic, gentle questions when she started to notice these symptoms. So she learned to ask herself, is my life really in danger right now? Right? Is this truly a matter of life and death? Or am I simply being triggered by a trauma reminder? So that's how she learned to inquire. And then nurture refers to some kind of self-soothing, some kind of self-care. In other words, some kind of coping or stress management. So in Maria's case, she decided to do what she was already doing that was working really well. So when she noticed those symptoms, she would take a hot shower and especially do that muscle massage. And then she would also practice her heart-focused breathing. Remember, with the safe place component built in. So in this case, the heart-focused breathing was perfect intervention because usually most of that panic is concentrated in the chest area. And then I also wanted to teach Maria the HALT skill, which is yet another acronym, more as a preventative strategy so that she would be less vulnerable in general, and especially to panic attacks. So as we know from our work with substance abuse clients, our clients are most vulnerable when they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So I wanted to make sure Maria had a plan in place to make sure she was not in these vulnerable states, or at least reduce the amount of time she was in those vulnerable states. So remember, her appetite was low, and she hadn't been eating well for the last couple months. So I wanted to make sure she was following some kind of meal schedule to adjust the hungry state. For anger, she decided she would journal some of her emotions. For lonely, she decided she would either pray, have that direct connection with God, or socialize with members of her prayer group. And for tired, she's going to have to learn to follow a sleep schedule. Remember, sleep was really difficult for her. She didn't want to even sleep in the first place. So those were the skills I wanted her to learn for distress tolerance.